So, forgot to zoom in with Google so you guys could see some things. We got week one. There were points where week one went pretty standard. A couple games I want to talk about. We'll start with the Thursday games from week one. That's week 0. We talked about that last week. This Western Carolina Catamounts at North Carolina State game is compelling. All of the ACC games were compelling. Most of them, I should say, were compelling. The ACC might really suck this year. Like, North Carolina State needed 21 in the fourth quarter to be able to pull away and beat the Western Carolina Catamounts by 17. Grayson McCall, 26 for 40, 318, 3 scores, and an interception. And Jordan Waters, 20 carries for 123 and 2 scores. I really wish I would have been able to watch this game on Thursday night. Because what happened here? Like, defensively, I mean, they only gave up 360 yards. But defensively, they just weren't great. An interception, no fumbles lost. Just this North Carolina State team just was in a fight for their lives for 3 quarters. And we're going to talk about it more with some of the other ACC teams. The ACC might be fucking terrible. The ACC might just be fucking terrible. That could be all there is to it, and I might just be looking for some reasons to explain to why that North Carolina State struggled with Western Carolina, and it could just be as simple as the ACC fucking sucks. Do we have any... Wait, this will get me in trouble on YouTube. Never mind. That was almost bad. I forgot. I can't look at I can't look at video because it'll get me in trouble on YouTube. Oof, that was almost bad. This team was just bad. Right here, first drive for Western Carolina, 1 play, 8-yard score. So we go play by play. Punt. Okay, so they score right off the interception. That gives you a 7-0 lead. That explains some. 6-play, 75-yard drive. You go 14-7. 17-yard, 6-play, 75-yard drive again. So it was just... I mean... So defensively, they didn't necessarily do anything bad. I mean, they gave up 2 6-play drives that resulted in yards, meaning resulted in touchdowns, meaning somewhere in there, considering it was only 6 plays and 2 minutes 34 seconds and 3 minutes 24 seconds, that somewhere along the way they did give up a couple big plays defensively. So their offense just for 3 quarters was inept. The ACC might just suck. We'll talk about it with a couple of the other ACC teams here ACC might just suck. That could just be as simple as that. The ACC just sucks. Move on. Because I don't have much else to add to that other than, yeah, ACC might suck. Georgia took on Clemson, that neutral site game in Atlanta. Clemson's not good. This game was close for a half. Georgia went up into the locker room, up 6-0, and then scored 28. Outscored Clemson 28-3 in the second half. It just, to put it simply, Clemson was just completely outmanned. Like, I don't have much analysis for this game. Clemson was just outmanned. Clemson might not be good, just like the rest of the ACC, but they at least have a mild excuse in playing a team that's just so good. Is Carson Beck elite? I don't know, but the Georgia team as a whole is so good that they were able to win back-to-back national championships with a dude playing beer league football at one point, playing adult league football. And Stetson Bennett. So, like, not much analysis there. Clemson was just completely outmanned. And, yeah. That's all I got for that game. So, keep it short and sweet for that game, and then let's move on to the other one. Another big one that I want to talk about. The number 3 Oregon Ducks at home needed Dylan Gabriel to have a Heisman performance. Go for 382 scores in his debut for the team to beat the FCS Idaho Vandals out of the Big Sky. Yeah. That's what I got about this game. I was wrong about this game. I said in typical Oregon fashion last week. I said in typical Oregon fashion, they were going to come up against an opponent like Idaho and just throw them around, stuff them in a locker, and take their lunch money and score 70. I was wrong. This Oregon team looked horrible. They just looked bad. They might have been one of the worst looking teams I have seen all year. So far, hey, it's only 1 week. But they've been the worst. They were one of the worst looking teams of week 1, at least in the top 25. Like, without doubt, one of the worst looking teams. You need, and it's just in typical Oregon fashion, though, too. Like, typical Oregon Dan Lanning fashion, as I said, James Franklin with hair. You need to go out and make a statement, and you look like an idiot. And yeah, you win the game, but again, Dylan Gabriel had to play all 4 quarters. Your starters had to play all 4 quarters against Idaho. You needed to make a statement, and you let an FCS team put their chest out and shove back at points. This Oregon team is just not. I don't buy into the hype. Now, it's still early. Oregon can redeem themselves. Oregon's got, this week they got Boise State. And then they travel to Oregon State, and then at UCLA, which that should be a pushover. Home against Michigan State, home against Ohio State. Excuse me. So Oregon's got a chance to just prove that this was a week one goof up. And not that they are bad. That's the beauty of week one. You do, if you're a team like Oregon, it is just win and move on. Sometimes that's all week one has to be, is just win and survive and move on. Much like the NCAA tournament in basketball, just survive and advance sometimes. You got another chance to prove that you're good, though, in college football after week one. I don't think they're gonna. They're a 19.5-point favorite against Boise. I don't know if they're gonna cover. Ashton Jeanty, he might not score 6 touchdowns against Oregon, but he'll score 3. Oregon might not. Oregon will win. Don't get me wrong, and we'll talk about that in the picks in a little bit. Oregon's going to win. They ain't going to cover. They are going to struggle, and then they'll play Oregon State and UCLA and Michigan State, and they'll probably throw those 3 teams in a locker. You would hope. Then they're probably going to play Ohio State and get slapped in the face. They travel to Purdue, so there's a good Purdue candidate there. At Purdue. Home against Illinois, they'll shove Illinois in a locker. Then they travel to Michigan, who we'll talk about in a moment. Michigan will probably slap them in the face. Lose that game. Home against Maryland, they'll shove them in a locker. Same thing with traveling to Wisconsin and home against Washington. They'll just beat those teams up and go dumb 10-2. Team is. I only watched half of this game because I was flipping between a couple other things, and I will admit it. I was watching. I had Michigan on. I flipped between this game, Michigan, and then Texas A&M and Notre Dame, and there were points where I did miss this game, and every time I turned back to this game, and Oregon wasn't pulling away, I was just like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough year for Oregon. They are a flash flare, no substance team. They got all of the window dressing. They do all the cute things that you look at them and you're like, okay, they're good. And then you actually watch them. Oh, they're not good. Like, you could beat up on the cupcakes. And if you come over here to win probability, there was never a spot there that you can't see it on. You can't see the graph on your screen, but there was never a spot where Oregon was in doubt. Which, okay, that's good. But when you need a Heisman-esque performance against an FCS opponent, a 4-quarter Heisman-esque performance against an FCS opponent from your quarterback, you gotta worry. Like, someone told me, oh, Dylan Gabriel threw for... Had I not watched this game at all, I not saw a single snap of this game, and somebody would have told me, oh, Dylan Gabriel threw for 380 in Oregon's game against Idaho, I'd been like, 380 in the first half, that's really fucking good. And then I'm like, no, he played all 4 quarters. And then it's like, alarm bells of what is going on. This team was just Yeah, it was never in doubt, but it just was never not a good showing from Oregon. Ohio State started slow. I don't have much to say here. Ohio State started slow, but they pulled away. Akron never really had a chance. I feel bad for their quarterback, Ben Finley. He was getting rocked all game. Jeremiah Smith is a stud. He's already sixth all-time freshman receiving touchdowns. Sixth, yeah, sixth by receiving touchdowns for freshmen. Two. I don't know how things are going to look for the backfield with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I think eventually once they both find their footing, there'll be a good group, good running back room. It's just going to be hard to say what happens. Texas took care of business against Colorado State. We got to see Arch Manning appear, which when you beat a team 52-0, yeah, you get throw your backups in. Alabama did what they had to do against Western Kentucky. Ole Miss did what they had to do. Ole Miss could be good. Jackson Dart threw 5 touchdowns in the first half. Yeah. Notre Dame beat Texas A&M 23-13. I don't have much to say about this game. I honestly don't. It was tied 6-6 at halftime, and then, well, Notre Dame scored 17. Outscored Texas A&M 17-7. Really, all I got is all I really have to add is that Connor Wigman's not good. Texas A&M, it's what you expected out of Texas A&M. I said it last week that no matter what happens, these two teams are always going to find a way to goof up. Riley Leonard wasn't phenomenal. 18 for 30 for 158. He was better than Connor Wegman. Week one was ugly. Week one was ugly for a lot of teams. Notre Dame should have a playoff spot locked. Notre Dame should have a playoff spot locked. Should they make the playoff? No. But they're going to have a playoff spot locked because this. You look at this schedule. They get their win against Texas A&M. They then have Northern Illinois at Purdue. So, I mean, there is another Purdue possibility right there. Miami of Ohio, number 22 Louisville, Stanford, number 23 Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State, which could be really bad, Virginia, Army at USC to end the season. There's a very good chance Notre Dame will be 11-0 going into that game against USC. Very good chance. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. I don't disagree, but they won't. And if they do, it'll be the ACC, where they can play bad teams. Continue to play the bad teams. There's a very strong chance that Notre Dame will be 11-0 going into USC. If they lose to USC, they should not be in the playoff, but they probably will. They'll get in, and then probably get smacked around. Good win for Marcus Freeman. I'm glad he was able to kind of keep springboarding things. Freeman has a chance to be a really good head coach. He's just at Notre Dame, and at Notre Dame. That's really all I got. He's at Notre Dame. Did I cover MSU? I have not gotten there yet. Okay, I've moved on through the top 25. So there's that. Don't do it. Save yourself time. I mean, I don't have much to say about it because I didn't watch most of the game. What was I doing on Friday night? The game Friday. That was Friday. It was we were there. It was ugly. Yeah, I'd say if it was Friday, it was during the podcast. So I didn't really watch a lot of the game. I just kind of followed scores. This game, Penn State, West Virginia. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Really, really, really wrong. I fully expected Penn State to lose this game. I picked West Virginia to win this game in my picks. In the podcast picks. Actually, podcast picks. I picked Jordan and I's podcast picks. I picked West Virginia to cover, but I expected them to win. Oops. Drew Aller was efficient, 11 for 17, 216, 3 scores. Nick Singleton ran for 114 and a score. There, Harrison Wallace the third scored twice and on 117 yards receiving. This new offense at least looked competent. Will that hold? I don't know. We're not going to get any answers because they play Bowling Green this week. Then they have Kent State, and then Illinois, and then UCLA, and then finally travel to USC. So we won't know till October if this new offense is actually good, or if it's just West Virginia defense just wasn't. Yeah. I was wrong about that game. Michigan and Fresno State will kind of keep rolling through because like Penn State proved me wrong. They looked good, but again, when is the inevitable screw up going to happen with Penn State? Michigan played host to Fresno State, and they did not look good. Donovan Edwards might suck. Claire Mullins may be RB1 this week against Texas. Their quarterback situation at Michigan is awful. Alex Orji cannot throw the ball. And Davis Warren, good for Davis Warren. He was a walk-on. He made a start. Jack Tuttle, maybe try Jack Tuttle this week against Texas. This is a game, and Michigan did not cover. But this is a game, Michigan-Fresno State. If you just look at this score, Michigan won 30-10. You'd be like, okay, they won by 3 possessions. They won by 3 scores. Like, okay, Michigan was never in danger. They looked awful. Wink Martindale is an idiot. I like, you have the best cornerback in the country on your defense. Why is he standing on the sideline next to you? Why is Will Johnson not playing more? Like, I think Martindale might be dumb. Like, this game, Donovan Edwards ran the ball 11 times and I believe had 20 yards. Will Johnson won them that game. He is the best defensive back in the country. He's the best corner, definitely, in the country. And why was he on the sideline for chunks of that game, standing next to Wink Martindale, who was just calling zero blitz after zero blitz? It's like, what are you doing? And then Donovan Edwards might be awful. Cole Mullings might be good. Quarterback situation is atrocious. But here's how you solve the quarterback situation. Colston Loveland, your tight end, is probably one of the best tight ends in the country. Have him run those 5, 6, 7 yard routes and put anybody in at quarterback and just have them it could be fucking Jack Tuttle, it could be Alex Orji, it could be Davis Warren. Throw the ball to Colston Loveland 15 times, 20 times. That's all you need to do, because your receivers are garbage. I read, so some backstory. The only really reputable Ohio State blog is 11 Warriors. Only one that actually really covers football anymore, and not just Michigan sign stealing accusations. The only reputable one's 11 Warriors. They have a guy on staff whose sole job is to write about Michigan football from an outsider's perspective, to say how good they actually are. And I was reading that article this morning. It's a weekly article called Threat Level. I was reading it this morning, and he said, and I agree with this, Michigan is Iowa with upside, with offensive upside. Like, there's answers for Michigan's offense. Maybe. There should be answers for Michigan's offense. In theory. You never really know if there's answers for Iowa's offense, because, well, historically Iowa's offense has been ass. Like, there's potential answers for Michigan's offense. And I agree with it. If you're a Michigan fan, you coming off an undefeated 15-0 season, which you won the national championship, you might not want to hear that, but Iowa won 10 games last year. 9-10 games. So 9-10 wins could get you in the playoff. So that's not a bad thing to hear. But this Michigan team, not good right now. They could, I don't know if they'll lose 30 to Texas, but there's a good chance they ain't going to win. Tennessee took care of business against Chattanooga. Oklahoma State took care of business mostly against South Dakota State. K-State took care of business. Cam Ward looked pretty good against Florida, but Florida is quite possibly going to be one of the worst teams in college football this year, at least worst Power 4 team in college football. Arizona took care of business against New Mexico. Iowa scored 40. Might be the most points Iowa could be the most points Iowa scores all year. On Sunday night, game I covered in the sidecast, USC LSU. LSU was leading this game, and then Brian Kelly had explosive diarrhea all over the field. That's really all LSU averaged 5.5 yards per carry in this game. USC was just getting bullied at the line of scrimmage, was getting bullied at the point of attack. And then stupid shit. Brian Kelly remembered it was a week 1 game. At some point, we have to admit Brian Kelly fucking sucks as a head coach. I already have. We need to stop giving him and LSU like, oh my god, this team could be great. They're a team that could be phenomenal. Dude is the James Franklin of the SEC. He's being held up by one upset win in year 1. The upset against Alabama in year 1. That's always popping them up. And this team is just bad. They are undisciplined. Kyron Lacey, who's a very good wide receiver, took one of the dumbest penalties I have ever seen in unsportsmanlike after scoring a touchdown, in which he pulled a air gun, pulled a gun out, and shot at the USC defensive back. This team is just undisciplined. They're bad. Miller Moss looked solid. I mean, 378 in a score. But Garrett Nussmeier, LSU's quarterback, looked good too. And you got Brian Kelly there at the end. Oh, we got to get better play from our quarterback. Like, dude, your quarterback played great. You hit yourself as a fucking play caller. LSU and Florida State will be looking for new head coaches after this season. They should be. I don't think they're going to. Especially LSU, because it's like, LSU especially, it's just the James Franklin effect. I mean, yeah, Brian Kelly's been around longer than James Franklin, but Brian Kelly is being propped up by an upset win, which was his first year back in 2021. That upset against Alabama put them in the SEC championship, in which they got boat raced by Georgia. Yep. But Brian Kelly's being propped up by that. James Franklin, like I said, Brian Kelly's the James Franklin of the SEC. James Franklin's being propped up by that upset win over Ohio State in 2016 that needed 2 blocked field goals. Or block and a miss. Can't quite remember. Brian Kelly is going to be continually propped up by that. There was a couple of phenomenal plays by Kyron Hudson, USC's wide receiver, 2 all-world one-handed grabs. I don't know what to make of this USC team. I watched this game in its entirety, and people are saying, oh, USC is going to be great, USC is going to be great, USC is going to be great. I don't think we watched the same game, because I watched a game where at the point of attack, line of scrimmage, USC was getting bullied. Miller Moss was taking shot after shot. They don't have a good offensive line for a running game. And defensively, like I said, they gave up 5 yards per carry. It's just that Brian Kelly fucking sucks. And then, wrap up week 1. Monday night, Boston College went down to Tallahassee, and they put the smackdown on Florida State, won by 15. Boston College is solid. Florida State's ass, though. DJ Uiagalelei is terrible. Whatever tape that anyone has on DJ Uiagalelei, or Uiagalelei, however, whatever pronunciation you want to use. Any tape that people have on DJ Uiagalelei that says he's good needs to be burned. Like, DJ Uiagalelei, depending on what site you got your recruiting info from back in 2019 going into 2020, either Bryce Young or DJ Uiagalelei were one or two. CJ Stroud was pretty much consistently third. Stroud and Bryce Young are in the NFL. DJ is on college number 3. Like, okay, you can fool recruits, you can fool Clemson. You can fool the scouts, fool Clemson. Because without seeing the high school tape, I can't really say what DJ was like in college or in high school. Without seeing the high school film myself, I can't be like, oh, he was ass in high school too. I can't. I don't know what he looked like in high school. But then his freshman year at Clemson, when in 2020, when he had to play 2 games for Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence had COVID, he was awful. Okay, he's a freshman. You can sit and be like, well, he's a freshman. They aren't necessarily always going to be elite. Especially because one of those games was against a solid Notre Dame team that year. His sophomore season, he was horrible. Something tricked John Smith at Oregon State. Be like, we want you in the transfer portal. Come to Oregon State. He wasn't good at Oregon State. He was just average against worse competition. Something tricked Mike Norvell at Florida State. Like, we want you. Come to Florida State. And he's gonna trick some fucking NFL team. Just like fucking Joe Milton has done. DJ and Joe Milton are the same fucking person. Like, same. Like, they are. Both quarterbacks who are not good but have been able to trick people with something. Whatever tape you have for DJ Uiagalelei that says he might be a good player needs to be fucking thrown needs to be burned. The ashes need to be scooped up, put in a box. That box needs to be burned. Those ashes, all of those ashes, need to be thrown then in a fucking metal safe, and the safe needs to be thrown into the fucking ocean. Because I don't know what tape they're seeing. He ain't got it. He's not a Power 5 quarterback. That right there is that's going to be the recap for week 1. Let's do a little preview of week 2 before we get into the picks. Just a brief one. We'll talk about some of the games that are going to be good. Noon on Fox. Number 3 Michigan number 3 Texas travels to Michigan. This game, Texas is a 7.5 point favorite. I think Texas is going to win this game. It's just going to be how good is it? How we're going to see how. And I'm going to steal a line from Jordan, and I'm sure he'll say it during the podcast. We're going to see if Michigan actually Jordan said on Sunday, Sunday we were at work, he got there, he's like, I ain't going to say Michigan blows, but they might blow. We'll find out if they blow this week. It's Texas. We're going to find out if Michigan blows. If this offense can't do anything, they're going to lose this game because the defense just won't be able to sustain enough. We just won't be able to. The defense just won't be able to sustain, just to be able to hold up enough. On the flip side, we're also going to find out if Texas is for real. So this will be a fun game to watch, answer a handful of questions. Interesting. Well, that's a pretty compelling one at noon on the ACC network. Georgia Tech travels to the most depressing place in college football, Syracuse. We'll see if Georgia Tech's good or not. They're ranked 23rd right now. This could be an interesting one for the ACC to see who's good. It's possible if Georgia Tech wins this game, they can take a early control of the ACC at 2-0. But if Syracuse wins, go to 1-0 in the ACC, 2-0 in the conference. It'll make things interesting. Georgia Tech is a 3-point favorite. That one will be fun to watch. Keep an eye on. Utah plays their first Big 12 game at 3:30 on Fox. It's against Baylor though. Cam Rising had himself a day week 1 on I want to say Friday. 3 for 5 scores, 254. Utah's good. I don't know. That's really the only note is it's Utah's first official Big 12 game. Iowa State will be interesting. I don't think Iowa's going to be able to score 40 again, but we'll see. We'll get to see how good this offense is against a Division I team, against an FBS team. Kansas should be able to kind of just walk through Illinois, and then at 7:30 on ABC, one of the few hopes of the remaining hopes of the ACC being good. In the Duke's Mayo Classic. Yep, I said that. Number 14, Tennessee travels to Charlotte to play NC State. Tennessee's an 8-point favorite. We're going to find out if either of these teams are for real. If either of these teams are good. North Carolina State looked pretty bad against Eastern Carolina. Tennessee rolled in their game against Chattanooga. There'll be if NC State loses this game, their hopes pretty much are going to be relying on their hopes of actually being good are going to start relying on like Georgia Tech or Miami. Oregon takes on Boise State. That'll be interesting to watch. I mean, it's a 10 o'clock game. So if you're still up and around, that game will be interesting to watch. It's 10 o'clock start. Ashton Jeanty looked really good week 1. 6 touchdowns, 267 yards. Oregon State needs this game. They need to go out and punch Boise in the mouth. That's really it for week 2. Let's get into the picks. Oh, actually, I did forget a week 1 game. Because I was wrong about this team. I said this in the podcast after show. I figure I may as well touch it here. Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech in overtime. Vanderbilt tried to lose. I thought Virginia Tech was going to be a good team in the ACC, and well, they suck. They might not be as good either. This is just another proof of the ACC might really suck. Kyron Jones, 322, 2 scores, and an interception. This is just one of those where the ACC might really be bad. Now we can move on to the week 2 picks. The ass conference. Yep, I agree. Week 1, you are right. We went 23-4. Our 4 games that we got wrong. North Dakota State, Colorado. I had North Dakota State winning. Penn State, West Virginia, I had West Virginia winning. I had LSU beating USC, and then I had Florida State beating Boston College. That was what we got wrong. Let's make our picks for week 2 now. Starting with Friday night, we have our game, the Sidecast. Battle of the Nerds. Duke takes on Northwestern. At Northwestern, at whatever that field's called, right on Lake Michigan there. Give me the Blue Devils to win the Battle of the Nerds. Moving to noon on Fox, Saturday. Number 3, Texas travels to Michigan, take on the number 10 ranked Wolverines. Michigan gets their first loss here. Give me Texas. Noon on the Big Ten Network, the Who Cares game of the top 25. Penn State takes on Bowling Green. Give me Penn State. Number 23, Georgia Tech, ranked number 23, Georgia Tech takes on Syracuse in the JMA Dome, the old Carrier Dome, most depressing place in college football. We'll get to see if Kyle McCord is Kyle McCord or if he's Honda McCord in this game. If you're in the Syracuse area, tickets are starting at $20.60. We need Georgia Tech. Oklahoma State takes on Arkansas at noon. I can't pick Arkansas here. Give me Oklahoma State. Same thing. We're still in noon. Kansas State takes on Tulane. I can't pick Tulane. Tulane's a good group of 5 team, but I think K-State will be pretty good. Number 1, Georgia plays Tennessee Tech. Why in the hell would I pick Tennessee Tech? Give me Georgia. Louisville takes on Jacksonville State. Why would I pick Jacksonville State? Give me Louisville. Notre Dame hosts Northern Illinois. Why would I take Northern Illinois? Give me Notre Dame. This is like I said, this is pretty standard here. 3:30 on CBS. Nice little stretch there. Number 21, Iowa hosts Iowa State, the Cyclones. I want to take Iowa State, but I can't. I don't think Iowa's going to score 40. But I think they're going to win. Give me Iowa here. Give me Utah against Baylor. Jordan has the picks. I have to talk to him about that. Michigan State travels to College Park. Right, it is College Park, yes. Maryland to take on the Terrapins. This game's tricky. Because Maryland beat up on UConn. Michigan State struggled with FAU. Neither of them are good teams. I'm going to take Maryland. I don't think Maryland's going to be any good, but I'm going to take Maryland here. Ole Miss is going to beat Middle Tennessee. Miami's going to beat Florida A&M. We're not going to actually see if Miami's bad yet. Alabama's going to beat South Florida. Kansas will beat up on Illinois. Missouri's good. They're going to beat up on Buffalo. Tennessee's going to beat up on ass conference team North Carolina State. Ohio State will beat Western Michigan. LSU will beat Nicholls State. 7:30 game. I wish this. We're well into the 7:30 slate. We're just rolling through picks quick here. Nebraska's going to beat Colorado. I don't have confidence in Colorado. I can't look at Colorado and look at what they did week 1 against North Dakota State, where they just got bullied, and say that they're going to beat Nebraska. Oklahoma's going to beat Houston. Clemson will beat App State. Arizona's going to beat Northern Arizona. Oregon's going to beat Boise State. They need to win this game big. Liberty, give me Liberty or give me death here against New Mexico State. And then USC is going to beat Utah State, our tiebreaker. Duke, Northwestern. Both teams 1-0. We'll go 45 points. I don't know why. I only have a tiebreaker because I have to. And that is my college football picks. Top 25 and a couple others. And week 1 recap and week 2 preview.